Welcome back to the old barn on Ann Street. This is the Monday edition of Bathroom in the Barn week. We've got an exciting week for you where we show you all the work we did to put a bathroom in the barn, to go from feed troughs to a washroom here in the barn. It's exciting stuff, and we're going to see some more history on the walls of the barn. You won't want to miss an episode this week. So, hey, let's start digging in the dirt and get started on the work today. So today we're hooking the barn up to sewer water, to the sewer and town water, and it's been a fun day. We got some of the town works people here from the public works, but we got our plumbers, we got an excavator. It's going to be it's been a lot of fun. I'll show you what's underground here. We're trying to figure out there's all kinds of wires under here and pipes. So here's the plumbing underground. It's lunchtime, so plumbers have gone for their lunch, but here we are. All kinds of stuff in here today. You can see that pipe that goes that way. That's actually conduit with electrical lines going through it. We're glad we didn't mess with that one. There's a few others that go underneath here that have been covered over. Those are the empty conduit through which we're going to pull the wires to next week, hopefully, to bring power to the barn. And yeah, it was just, there are all kinds of stuff under there, but today is a big day. This is a day that we couldn't do ourselves. We needed to hire plumbers to do, and the excavator was busy. It was hard to get him here, but we're really glad that we've made this progress today, finally. So today, in addition to putting in the sewer in the barn, we're also getting water to the barn, and it's coming from the house to the barn, and so we're having to dig a hole to run the water line from here through that all the way to the barn. So here's the sewer line for things coming out of the barn. And then of course over here they're putting in the water line coming in from the house into the barn. So it makes the full circle. All of this digging in the dirt and all this work was done in December of 2023, almost a year ago. And I made a comment during the video that I thought the next week we would be doing the electrical upgrade, but as it turned out, it was 3 more months before we were able to do that. And there's reasons for that. All of the electrical work in this part of the historical part of Shelburne, where our house and our barn is all the electrical work is underground, and it was put underground in the 1980s. When they were filming a historical movie in the historical part here of town, they didn't want any electrical wires above ground so that it would look like a historical period. And so everything was quickly buried underground, and the problem is not everybody knows where all those wires are. So whenever you talk about doing things underground and digging into the dirt in our part of the world here, our part of Shelburne, it takes a little bit of time to figure it all out. So it took a while. It was February before we got back to it, but here it is. We finally got to work on the upgrading of the electrical as well as the plumbing. Let's see what it looked like. Well, with that, we took a major step toward getting a bathroom in the barn. We upgraded the plumbing and the electrical, two of the main huge parts of upgrading the barn and being able to have the bathroom. And the electrical was affecting everything, and we couldn't have the kiln in the barn until we did the electrical upgrade. So it took a long time, but finally, it took a while, but all's well that ends well. Everything was done and upgraded, and we're excited about that. Which leaves us with the one question for today's episode. What history can we find on the walls of this barn? And what do we want to find today? Well, again, just like yesterday, I need you to step outside with me so we can answer that question. Here we are standing on the street corner of Ann Street and Water Street. You can see the old barn on Ann Street there, and down the street you can see Shelburne Harbor. And when you walk up the street to Water Street and head down the street, this section of the street, between this street and the next one up there, which is St. Patrick's Lane, used to be in the 1800s referred to as White's Block, because the White family owned both of those houses, and they owned many of the properties across the street all the way back to Mowat Street, which is the next street there. And so it was known as White's Block, and the White family were quite prestigious. Nathaniel White, one of the members of the White family, he was elected to the Nova Scotia House of Assembly in 1878, and then he served in the Canadian as a member of Parliament in 1891 through 95, I think. And so a very upstanding person in the community, well known. This was White's Block because of the White family. Now, what in the world does this have to do with the old barn on Ann Street? I'm glad you asked. To answer that question, we can go back to that same section of the wall where we saw what was written yesterday about the new post office, which is now the old post office. But there's also something written about Nathaniel White. You can see on the wall here where it says Nathaniel White. It actually says N.H. White died on October 31st, 1916. Now, the White's Block is right next door to this barn. The barn is like in their backyard. And so Mr. Williams, John Williams, who owned the barn and used the loft of this barn to build dories back in that time period, would have known the Whites quite well and was moved enough to write on the wall of his barn the day that N.H. White passed away. Quite fascinating. There's literally history written all over the walls of this barn. And tomorrow we're going to see more, so don't miss an episode. You won't want to miss it. So that's tomorrow's edition of Bathroom in the Barn Week on the Old Barn on Ann Street. Don't forget, this weekend, this Sunday, November 24th, is Christmas in the Barn. 20 vendors here selling all kinds of amazing things you won't want to miss. And also, don't forget to click on the portrait under the barn and subscribe if you haven't become part of our subscriber family. We'd love to have you. Until then, see you tomorrow on the Old Barn on Ann Street.